Welcome to the AI for Career Success podcast by Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. I'm Fred, and for episode 159, I'm joined by the always insightful Daphne.
Great to be here.
So this conversation was actually sparked by our producer, Curt Robbins. He flagged a source for us that honestly feels like a strategic map for any professional working with AI today.
It's absolutely essential reading. It's an article by Basil Puglisi, published on LinkedIn back on October 16th, 2025. It's called The Minds Behind the Machines, Mapping the Voices Defining AI's Direction.
The minds behind the machines. I like that. So we're not just talking about the algorithms, we're talking about the people, the architects, and I guess the critics shaping the whole field.
Exactly. Puglisi's core argument is that AI's direction it's not an accident of code, it's a consequence of human intention.
Okay.
And he identifies 22 specific figures. We're talking pioneers, regulators, economists, and he says their one singular conviction is that intelligence has to stay tethered to human values.
And their ideas are what define the rules we all have to play by.
Yes, their foresight, their ethics. It all shapes the regulatory landscape that you and I and everyone listening have to navigate.
That's the real takeaway here, isn't it? If you're implementing AI or just trying to stay ahead of policy changes, you can't only look at the tech specs. You have to understand who is setting the rules of the road.
Right. So our goal here is to really map out those influences for you so you can adopt AI strategically and, responsibly.
So where do we start?
Well, Puglisi starts with the foundation, the technical architects who build the systems and the ethics advocates who demand they be accountable. These two groups are in this constant, really productive tension.
Okay, the architects. I imagine we're talking about some big names.
Oh, yeah. The giants. Jeffrey Hinton, Yoshua Bengio, Andrew Ng, Fei-Fei Li, Demis Hassabis, and Dario Amodei. These are the people who are basically defining the boundaries of what's even possible.
But it's not just about building bigger and better models, is it? I mean, with Hinton especially.
That's the fascinating part. You have Hinton, the godfather of AI, who didn't just quietly retire. He became one of the loudest voices warning about the potential risks. He's a moral skeptic now.
When the creator of the technology sounds the alarm, people listen.
It completely changes the conversation. It adds so much weight to the ethical debate.
But how does a warning like that turn into something concrete, something built into the systems?
Right, and that's where someone like Dario Amodei is so important. He helped pioneer this idea of constitutional AI. It's a game changer if you're working with generative models.
Constitutional AI. Explain that a little.
So instead of just using human feedback to stop a model from saying bad things, you give the AI a set of principles, a constitution that it has to follow. Safety becomes part of its architecture, not just a filter you add on later.
I see. So it's a procedural safeguard baked right in.
Yeah.
And what about Fei-Fei Li? Her focus is a bit different.
Her whole focus is on human-centered AI. It's not just about making the AI more efficient. It's about designing it to augment what we do, not just replace us. Empathy becomes a design principle.
Which is huge if your business relies on customer trust.
Absolutely. So if the architects are building the scaffolding, you then have the ethics advocates making sure that foundation is actually sound.
This would be people like Timnit Gebru, Joy Buolamwini.
Exactly. Meredith Whittaker, Helen Toner. Their argument is simple. Capability without accountability is it's a systemic risk.
And they're providing more than just critique, right? They're building actual tools.
They are. I mean, look at Timnit Gebru. She created the whole concept of data sheets for data sets. This isn't just an idea in a paper, it's a discipline. It's a formal methodology for documenting your data.
So as a professional, that means I have to document everything, why I collected the data, what's in it, how I should use it. It's an auditable process.
Yes, and it's already being referenced in things like IE standards. It's becoming the norm.
And Joy Buolamwini's work had a similar real-world impact.
A massive one. Her Gender Shades project gave hard, quantifiable proof of bias in facial recognition systems. And that didn't just make headlines. It led to actual policy bans on the technology in major cities around the world.
Wow. So a research finding directly translates into a product being pulled from the market.
That's the power of their work. The principle they all share is that fairness isn't an add-on, it's a prerequisite. It's foundational for any AI you want people to actually trust.
Okay, so that brings us to the next level. How do these ethical demands and technical safeguards get, formalized? How do we go from micro risks to macro strategy and economic policy.
That's the perfect transition to the next two groups Puglisi identifies, the governance theorists and economic theorists.
The people building the framework.
Exactly. People like Stuart Russell and Lena Khan, they're not just thinking about next quarter. They're building frameworks designed to last.
Stuart Russell's book, Human Compatible. You see that everywhere. What's his main function in terms of policy?
It's really the cornerstone of AI safety literature. His whole framework is about how you build machines that are aligned with human values, which are, messy and uncertain.
And that theory is actually shaping laws.
It absolutely is. It's providing the intellectual foundation for major regulations like the EU's AI Act and even discussions happening at the UN. If your company operates globally, you have to understand his arguments.
Okay, so Russell is focused on safety architecture. Lena Khan's work as FTC chair is more about market power.
Yes, exactly. She's reframed the whole conversation around power. She argues that these algorithmic monopolies, where a few companies control all the core models and data, don't just kill competition.
They distort public discourse.
And they create structural inequality. So for anyone listening, if your entire AI strategy relies on a single provider, you're operating in a system that Khan is scrutinizing very, very closely.
So the takeaway is to diversify your AI toolkit now, before you're forced to.
You have to. So if governance provides the structure, then you have the economic theorists, people like Eric Brynjolfsson, Darren Matsumoglou. They're asking if that structure actually serves broad prosperity or just, corporate efficiency.
Brynjolfsson's concept of the Turing trap gets at this.
Yeah, it does. He challenges this idea that all automation is automatically good. He points out that so much AI is used for what he calls so-so technologies, just automating simple tasks to cut costs, rather than augmenting human skills to create new value.
So using AI just to replace a cashier, for example.
Precisely. You get a short-term cost saving, but you might be limiting your long-term innovation, and Darren Matsumoglou takes that even deeper in his book, Power and Progress. He says the economic benefits of AI are negotiable.
Negotiable, meaning policy decides who wins and who loses.
Yes. He argues that without deliberate policies to, say, incentivize augmentation and redistribute some of the gains, all the benefits will just flow to capital, not to labor. And we should also mention Kate Crawford here, who kind of bridges everything by exposing the hidden environmental and political costs behind machine learning. She shatters the myth of clean intelligence.
Let's take a brief break for a special message from our producer, Curt Robbins.
When we return, we'll move beyond policy frameworks and look at how these ideals are being operationalized globally and within the enterprise.
Hi, this is Curt Robbins. First, thanks for listening. I truly appreciate your support. I want to let you know that I'm currently accepting new clients. My rates are affordable, and I have more than 25 years of experience working for enterprise companies like Microsoft, Northrop Grumman, Oracle, PNC Bank, FedEx, USAA, and Wells Fargo, among many others. If you want to improve your IT documentation and communications, hire me. I deliver fast, know how to use AI to improve efficiency and accuracy, and love going the extra mile to satisfy my clients. Thank you for subscribing and listening. Back to you, Daphne and Fred.
Welcome back to the AI for Career Success podcast.
Before the break, we were mapping out the ethical and governance frameworks, which, were largely developed in the West, but AI is global. How do we make sure this conversation includes global voices and, actually gets operationalized?
That's the critical next step, moving from theory to practice and inclusion. You have figures like Deb Raji, who is a pioneer in corporate algorithm audits.
So she's not just critiquing from the outside.
No, she's working inside the industry to create measurable audit practices that companies can actually adopt. It moves ethics from a policy document to a line item in your due diligence process.
Which is what you need for real risk management.
Yeah.
If you can measure it, you can manage it.
And then on the world stage, you have someone like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala at the WTO. She's reframing AI as a core part of global trade and digital infrastructure.
Not just a tech issue.
Not at all. Her focus is making sure developing nations get to help shape these standards, so they aren't just forced to adopt rules made in Silicon Valley or Brussels.
Okay, so that brings us to what might be the most practical group for our listeners. The emerging governance leaders. The ones turning all this theory into operational systems for businesses.
Yes, this is where the rubber meets the road. People like Navrina Singh, Carter Cousineau, Jessica Newman, and Sneha Revener, they make ethics a dashboard item.
Navrina Singh's company, Credo AI, is all about this, right? How do you operationalize ethics?
By building governance directly into the AI lifecycle. From the moment you bring data in to when you deploy a model, It means you define your risk tolerance, you set actual metrics for fairness and transparency, and then you automate the monitoring of those metrics.
So you manage ethical risk with the same rigor you'd apply to financial risk.
That's the goal. It becomes a structured, repeatable, and reportable process, not just a philosophy.
And people are already doing this at scale.
Yes, Carter Cousineau's work at Thomson Reuters is proof. She's shown that this kind of corporate accountability can and must coexist with innovation, even in a huge enterprise. These leaders are providing the actual blueprints for businesses.
So when you pull it all together, these 22 figures, it seems less like a single movement and more like a constant productive tension.
That's exactly how Puglisi frames it. The goal isn't consensus, it's coherence. The tension is the system's safeguard.
So you have hint and warning about existential risk, while someone like Andrew Ng is trying to harness the massive economic potential.
Right, and you have Joy Buolamwini's powerful critique of bias being met with Dario Amadei's architectural solution, constitutional AI. That's the dynamic.
And it's not just talk. Their influence is measurable.
Absolutely. Buolamwini's research directly influenced legislation in the US and EU. Lena Khan's FTC rulings are setting legal precedents for algorithmic accountability right now. Their work bridges the gap between research, regulation, and public trust.
So if you had to boil it all down, what's the one big strategic thought for a professional trying to navigate all this?
It's that AI is not just a tech race. It is a governance continuum. And understanding these 22 custodians, the people defining power, progress, and protection, is how you stay ahead of the curve. It's how you anticipate regulatory shifts and implement AI in a way that truly future-proofs your career.
An essential map for anyone in this space. This has been incredibly clarifying. Thank you for listening to the AI for Career Success podcast from Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share. We'll see you next time.